Thanks for joining me again this week. One of the largest companies in Montgomery County's life sciences ecosystem has announced another key investment. I joined Governor Westmore and my Frederick County executive partner, Jessica Fitzwater, on Friday for an announcement by AstraZeneca's CEO, Pascal Soriot, on plans to spend $1.8 billion in our state. AstraZeneca's decision to continue to expand its footprint in Montgomery County is a testament to our strong, highly educated, and diverse workforce, our innovation community, and our great quality of life. We're proud to have AstraZeneca's North American headquarters located here in the county. The city of Gaithersburg has been a strong partner in supporting their expansion efforts on the former MedImmune site and at Progress Way near the intersection of I-270 and Montgomery Village Avenue. In May, I had the privilege of seeing AstraZeneca's new cell therapy facility in Rockville. This $300 million advanced manufacturing building is already being used by scientists focused on developing specialized cell therapies, treatments designed to re-engineer a patient's own immune cells to fight disease. Last month, we had the opportunity to meet company leaders in Shanghai, where we learned that AstraZeneca employs more than 60,000 people across China, and that many of their experts in oncology and other disease indications are partnering with innovators and healthcare providers in China, working to find effective treatments. And things that are discovered there ultimately find their way to our markets as well. It's one of the great things about a global market. Discoveries of treatments to improve our lives have international implications. AstraZeneca is a great example of a multinational company that values our highly educated and diverse workforce. We know that the work its employees produce in the county and around the world is important, and we're proud to be associated with AstraZeneca and the impact its employees have on patients everywhere. We look forward to continuing to support their growth in the county and recognize them as a highly valued employer in Montgomery County. This week, the Montgomery County Public Schools Board of Education approved the superintendent's capital improvements budget request. And in case you missed it, the request is an eye-opener. The capital improvements budget is separate from the money we spend every year through our operating fund. These are larger long-term investments in facilities and infrastructure. The budget encompasses all of the county's needs, but I want to focus on the ask from MCPS right now. Their fiscal year, which plans out spending over a 6-year period, roughly 1/4 of the budget is devoted to school improvements. That's our second largest expenditure behind transportation. The MCPS request this year is 54% higher than the last approved CIP. That works out to almost $160 million more each year over 6 years. And even with that level of investment, we will continue to be faced with a backlog that has built up over many years. The long-term lack of transparency by the school system led to this sudden revelation. Today, leaders are being more transparent about the needs. This exposes a problem of underinvestment that goes back more than a decade. The CIP budget hasn't been adjusted for inflation in 10 years. The actual dollars devoted to the CIP have been slipping over time too. In 2009, we spent $300 million on capital projects. Over the last 4 years, we've dipped to $280 million. Had we kept pace with inflation, we'd be spending almost $550 million today. I'm sure that all of you know that the cost of what we buy regularly increases. And the expectation that you can spend $280 million today to buy what you spent $300 million to buy 16 years ago is just ridiculous. This year, the council approved tentatively $300 million of my $340 million request. It wouldn't even match our needs that are in the school budget. And it doesn't match it now. These limitations put a burden on the capital budget process, making it harder to meet the needs of our residents because of rising costs. Our commitments to our schools, infrastructure, and facilities falter when we don't deliver on the promises for improvement. We need to look hard at our capital budget, and I've proposed an approach that would closely resemble what the district and the Northern Virginia counties have been able to do regarding infrastructure funding. The Montgomery way of handling capital spending doesn't work, hasn't worked for a couple of decades, and it does not meet our needs. Please listen carefully to how the MCPS is laying out the problems that they're facing. It's real. Superintendent Dr. Thomas Taylor's budget gives a much more accurate reflection of MCPS facility conditions and needs. Previous administrations have not shown us the full picture, and now we have to prioritize the needs of our schools, and it has to be factored in with an already complicated math problem. When Dr. Taylor was hired, I said our schools need and deserve strong leadership because it's crucial to keep us among the country's most highly regarded school districts. I appreciate the superintendent's honesty and transparency when it comes to the needs of MCPS. I look forward to reviewing the school budget and final approval that will come later this winter. I'll be sending my recommended 6-year capital budget proposal to the council in mid-January. The County Council held a work session this week on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan to consider amendments to the plan that were recommended by the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee. They changed some of the zoning recommendations that were sent over by the Planning Board, lowering densities and heights, and they agreed to retain the existing zoning on the Woodmore Shopping Center. They also agreed to dispense with street grid recommendations made by the Planning Board, in total disregard from the community that testified to the Planning Board, and those changes would have compromised safety in the neighborhoods. I'm glad that the Planning Board recommendations on these things were rejected. The attempt to introduce housing affordability into the rezoning of single-family residential homes along University Boulevard Corridor, however, falls far short of expectations. As a result, there's a distinct possibility that naturally occurring affordable homes will be replaced by expensive duplexes and townhouses, resulting in the displacement of current residents. For example, if a developer builds 3 townhouses on a single lot, one of them would have to be affordable as workforce housing. But workforce housing can serve incomes over $170,000, which is not really affordable. And that number would be unaffordable to Black and Brown communities where their median income is far, far lower than white or Asian communities. So we continue a pattern of displacing people in lower income groups, which this plan will do, and then replacing their housing with units that they can't afford. When workforce housing has a definition that excludes most members of the 2 largest minority communities in the county, this is a problem. And to put a worse wrinkle on this, if you replace a single-family house that is affordable today with a duplex, there is no affordability requirement, and it may actually be advantageous to build all of these houses as duplexes rather than 3 units. That's because the 3 smaller units would generate potentially less sales value than 2 larger duplexes. There is no guarantee of affordability for most people. Councilmember Will Jawando was not successful in his attempts to introduce changes that would address the affordability and racial equity issues, and there was no serious discussion of the lack of jobs in the area. This, along with the failure to recognize that bus rapid transit is not even in the earliest planning stage, means that additional residential development will likely proceed without the infrastructure improvements necessary to support development. While touting BRT as a traffic reliever, the fact is that increasing density will also lead to more drivers and leading to more congestion. There's only so many people that BRT is going to keep off the road. The number of people it takes off the road is smaller than the number of people that this development puts on the road. It is simply the wrong place to increase density in the county. It is not near any job centers. The corridor plan along University will subtract from the hoped for but yet unrealized residential growth in Wheaton, and it makes it less viable as a center. It also ignores decades of work through the master planning to focus development around the metro and activity centers. As I said before, our master plans already have capacity for more than the projected number of households anticipated to arrive by 2050. In other words, the housing we need, we've actually already planned for. This is simply a device to give townhouse developers the opportunity to turn an existing neighborhood into greenfields. The focus on safety issues of prime importance here was also strange when they said that rezoning is necessary to implement improvements. That's patently untrue. As Councilmember Sidney Katz pointed out, it takes years to implement master plan recommendations, while safety improvements are needed now and should be addressed through other means. They also demonstrated their disconnect from the county, where they might have learned, had they asked, that the state of Maryland is already targeting the corridor for safety improvements. No rezoning required. Statements by the Planning Board representatives made it clear that the University Corridor Plan is their blueprint for future corridor changes around the county. These plans are singularly focused on taking single-family neighborhoods, rezoning them, and giving scant consideration to the other master plan elements intended to create complete communities. It's not surprising that many people see this as an open invitation to developers to add density to existing neighborhoods, making our streets more congested, straining our existing infrastructure, without asking developers to help us pay for the impacts of the growth. And it's a real problem when this growth is not near the job centers. For those of you who are thinking, well, this is University Boulevard, it's not my neighborhood, don't take any comfort in that. Their plan is to do this widely on everything that they define as a corridor. This becomes possible. It will come to many places in the county, one at a time, and this is the test bed. They're poised to ignore most of the concerns related to what happens inside your neighborhood, as they're doing in this community, and there's no reason to believe that you'll be treated differently. This is a planning board that has repeatedly demonstrated that what you think and what you want for your community is irrelevant to their vision for your neighborhood. I'd encourage you to let the council know that while you may not be affected today, this is not the kind of planning that you want to see in the county. The council directed its staff to prepare a resolution incorporating the changes that they made. They will meet on December 2nd to review several chapters of the plan that were not discussed yesterday. And then they'll take a straw vote on the resolution, with final adoption of the plan scheduled for December 9th. You have a limited amount of time to raise your concerns. I'd like to highlight one of the special projects currently underway to provide more options for older residents. On Thursday, I visited the Mission First Housing Group project in Wheaton, which will add 90 units of affordable housing exclusively for seniors. This project aims to help older residents who earn between 70 and 30% of area median income. It takes advantage of underutilized parking to build 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, green space, and walking paths that help connect with downtown Wheaton. I would like to thank the Department of Housing and Community Affairs for its collaboration with Mission First, the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, Grand Bridge, and Truist for recognizing the significant investment being made here. It was also a great idea by leaders within the Hartzion Aguda Achim congregation to better utilize its land in a way that benefits the community. This project is a great example of how we can work closely with one of Montgomery County's faith communities to create strong housing options for older residents in our community. One goal we've set is to make it easier for older residents to age in place. Adding affordable housing set aside for seniors helps those who are looking to downsize. Alternatively, the Home Access Rehabilitation Programs helps older residents who want to make it easier to remain in their homes as long as possible. If you have questions about how HARP can help your situation, email dhcaharp@montgomerycountymd.gov, or you can just call 311. Housing for older adults 65 and up is a growing concern because the population of seniors is growing. 18% of the county at last count, and up 11% from 2000. Older adults who rent should have more housing choices, as a significant portion of their limited monthly income is typically devoted to housing. This creates cost burdens that leave them very vulnerable. Affordable senior housing, like this project, is a key part of meeting the needs of our older residents. I'm proud of the nearly $8 million we've invested to help finance the project, so that the construction is already underway. The county has also allowed for special tax privileges to help cover the final costs in order to finalize these plans. I look forward to celebrating the grand opening of this facility and seeing the impact it has on our community. This week also, SNAP benefits for November finally began to reach families. Still, things remain far from normal following the 43-day federal shutdown. Food drives intended to help federal workers and contractors through WorkSource Montgomery and the Manna Food Center are still set for December 5th. The need for food and help will continue to remain high. Social safety net services also remain critical now, with higher health care costs on the way in January. That could force thousands of people to leave their health care to chance rather than to see their medical costs double. That's going to be a serious impact on many people in our community. Other good news, I'm pleased to welcome Jennifer Macedonia as Montgomery County's new Director of Environmental Protection. She was unanimously confirmed by the County Council on Tuesday. Jennifer is a nationally recognized environmental leader with over 30 years of experience. She brings deep expertise in climate policy, clean energy, and environmental protection from her time with the Environmental Protection Agency. Under her leadership and through the Inflation Reduction Act, several new programs are launched to help reduce the amount of carbon monoxide being produced through transportation, the building sector, and power production, things we're very concerned with here. Her proven leadership and strong local roots, being a resident here, make it an outstanding choice to lead our efforts toward a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable future. You can read more about her experience in this week's Montgomery Update newsletter. Look forward to her starting her new role serving our residents on December 1st. The Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation has a new leader. Jared Smith was named President and CEO of MCEDC this week. after leading economic development efforts in Hendersonville, Nevada, a large suburb of Las Vegas. From what I've learned so far, I believe he can be a strong addition to the team, and this hire is an important next step in advancing the county's long-term economic development strategy. We know the challenges that lie ahead, and we've made meaningful progress this year to building a more coordinated approach to economic development. Jared brings hands-on experience from both local and regional efforts in other jurisdictions, and that perspective will be valuable as MCEDC continues its work to attract new investment in a way that aligns with our county priorities. His background supporting small business is particularly relevant in Montgomery County. Small businesses are the backbone of our local economy, and strengthening that ecosystem remains a central part of our growth strategy. I look forward to connecting in the coming weeks and discussing how we can continue to move the county forward. Thank you all for listening today. That's a wrap. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be back again next week.